Welcome back. We are now going to go over a few of the different options and just sort of setting up Rhino so it's ready for our future modeling. Now, one of the first things I want to do is just come to File and select New. I want a new document. I don't want to save our beautiful cube here, no. And it's going to ask us for a template file. Now, working in jewellery, it's quite small, so I'm going to choose Small Objects Millimeters. And I'm also going to click Use this file when Rhino starts and press Open. So now whenever you open Rhino, you don't have to come and select New and do the whole thing there. And basically, Small Objects Millimeters is going to define in our grid here our units that we're going to be using. So 1 unit is 1 millimeter, and each one of these small squares here is also 1 millimeter. If I scroll out a little bit, we can see that we've got this darker square here, and this indicates that this is 10 units or 10 millimeters across. So you can quite easily see that we've got small millimeter sizes and then bigger 1 centimeter sizes. Now we have some options down the bottom here. And the first one I want to do is, if you've got it, turn off auto C-plane. It's kind of annoying, and I'm just going to leave that off for now. We've got our gumball, that's on, lovely. We've got smart track on. We can sort of, yeah, we can leave that on. Why not? We've got object snap, and you can see off to the side here we've got these different options here. Now none of those are enabled at the moment, but they're quite important because when we start drawing things, we want to be able to snap to other parts of the geometry that we're drawing. If I come across to standard, and I'm just going to grab this line here, or it's polyline I should say. So at the moment I can draw a line. Now if I want to continue from this point here down to here, and let's say I want to make a box, and what I'm doing is I'm just sort of eyeballing. But if I come in close, you can see that I'm not actually connecting to the ends of these different lines that I've drawn. So when I select all of these objects, if we have a look in our properties panel, you can see we've got 4 open curves. And in order to do this properly, they need to touch. They can't be close enough. Close enough does not cut it. They have to be mathematically occupying the same point in space. So let's delete all of these. And delete. Let's enable some of these snaps. I want end, near, point, mid. I don't want center. I want intersection. Perpendicular and tangential I don't want. Quad I want. And project I want. Project is very important, and I'll show you why in a moment. Okay, let's grab our line. And I've got one line there. Now, if I right click to reinitiate the command, if I hover close, you can see it is snapping to the end of this line, which means I can now come, again, snap to the end, come up here, snap to the end. By the way, this faint white line that you're seeing, that's got to do with object snap. If I turn that off, you can see that it's gone. Sorry, not object snap, it's smart track. I need to turn smart track off, object snap back on. And now I can snap to that end there. If I grab all of these and join these together, join, then I can. You can see we've got 4 curves joined into one closed curve. And looking over to the side here, you can see we've got closed curve because it's just one closed curve. Now, the other options here, for example, near, means that I can snap to a point on this line here. We've got a point snap, which means I can just put a point in our scene. And again, I can snap to that point. Snap. We've got mid, which means it can snap to the center of a line. We've got quad, so if I've got a circle, it'll snap to the quadrants of the circle. Now let's delete all of that. And speaking of circles, I'm going to draw one. So there it is. Now, if I want to draw a circle in the center of our world, this can be mathematically defined as having the coordinates of 0, which is 0 in one dimension, 0 in another dimension, and then 0 in our z dimension. This can be written shorthand as just 0, and I'll show you how to use that. If I select our circle, it's going to say what is the center of circle. Now, I could put in coordinates like 3, 5, 10 and press enter. And that's going to give us, we are 10 units up, 5 units in Y direction and 3 units in X direction. But we don't want that, so I'm going to re-click that and just type in 0. I want 0, 0, 0 for each of the dimensions, but I can just type in 0 and enter. And that's going to snap us to our world origin, or the points where this goes from negative to positive, this intersection of these two lines here. So let's grab a circle about that big. Now, if I turn project off, I select this circle, and let's say I want to move it. And I am going to grab the move button. It's this one here, 2 boxes. And I want to move from, say, I just want to move it to the right. Now have a look at our top viewport when I do this. You can see as I come and select the near, we're actually moving off this construction plane, which is this grid, which is sort of in the center of our scene. So as I come and select here, let's say I want to move it just across here and snap to the quad. If you look at this top viewport, you can see that we are actually not moving just from left to right, but we're moving this circle back off itself. So let's Control Z, we'll try that again. And again, if we go from, say, here, we want to move that to the center, you can see that we're moving off axis, off this, this green axis, this Y axis. So by having project enabled means that we can move that, and you can see it's selecting from the, although it's selecting on the edge, it's projecting our selection to the background construction plane. So from here I can move it to the center, and we haven't moved off axes in this top viewport. We've just moved across in the axes. So that's, if project is not enabled, you can get into trouble. So just keep it enabled until you feel like you want to disable it. Generally speaking, I've got it on 99% of the time. There's just that 1% where I just need to move somewhere in 3D space. So I'll disable that, but then I'll make sure I re-enable that. So we've got rid of our auto C plane. We've had a look at our object snaps here. We've also got a grid snap here, and at the moment this is set to, I think it's 1mm increments. Let's right click, settings. So we've got our grid snaps here, and we have snap spacing to 1mm. Okay, as I thought. So with that enabled, it's going to snap us to corners of this grid. This is 1mm grid. So generally speaking, I keep it off, but it can be handy, but I'll just keep it off for now. So keep that off. We'll keep object snap on. We'll keep smart track off for now. Gumball on, auto C plane off. The last option down here that I want to look at is the record history. I'm going to click this, and if I right click it, I want to make sure that always record history is on, update children is on, and history break warning is on. Let's get rid of our circle, and I'm going to create a sphere. So I'll use our little drop down icon here and click a sphere. Let's put the center in our world origin, 0, enter. Now let's change this to shaded, and we want ghosted. If I right click, it's going to rerun the previous command. So now we've got our beautiful sphere. We've got our gumball, so I'm going to move it up here. Now you can see our record history is on, and if I hold down Alt and drag, I've created a relationship between these two objects. We've got a parent object here, and we've got a child object here. And wherever the parent goes, the child is going to want to follow, and that's the relationship that we've built there. So it might not quite seem quite obvious why we want this to start with now, We've also had that option to give us a warning whenever we break history. We can break history by moving the child independent of the parent. And you can see that's our warning. So if I Control Z, we've still got the relationship there. I can still move the parent, the child's going to follow. Incidentally, I can do that again with the child. And now I've got a parent, child, and grandchild. And now all three of those will move because the child will follow the parent and the grandchild will follow the child, which is also its parent. So let's delete those couple there. Now, I am going to run a command called polar array, or array polar. So we want to array this, and you can see that's auto-fulfilling for me. Array polar, we want the center of our polar array to be 0, and we want 4 items. And press enter. So you might imagine that these could be claws holding a stone in place, and we can sort of move these claws in and out as we like. So this is a polar array. Another command that uses the parent-child hierarchy is mirror. And again, this is quite a handy one. And we need to find, I'll tell you what, I'm going to grab this object snap. I'm just going to drag it down here. And I'm just going to park it there out of the way. So mirror, we need to transform, we need to find our transform menu. It's up here. And this thing that here looks a bit like a Christmas tree, that's our mirror button. So start of mirror plane is going to be world origin. If I hold down shift, I'm going to snap. I'll grab both of those, rerun that command from world origin, hold down shift. And now if we move that claw, we can move it sort of closer for perhaps like a emerald cut gemstone, or one that runs this way. So this is our history, and again, it's quite handy to have on all the time. And if you're a little bit worried about breaking it, you can do that and it will break. Now, one of the odd things is if you select all 4 of these, and if you want to move it up, for example, that's fine, even though it says that. Press OK. I wonder if that's really broken. Yes, that's broken. Sometimes you will find in Rhino 7, if you move something off axis like this, then it won't break the history, but you'll end up with these guys sort of scattered around your scene, something like this. So sometimes history is really great, but sometimes it will give you some strange results that you might not be expecting. So it's something to be aware of, and you do have that warning, which is really handy, so you know when history has been broken. There's a few things I want to set up now in our Rhino options, and I can find those by coming to File, Properties, or I can also type Options. And you'll see that there's some different options here for some of the things that Rhino uses to work. Now we've got some modeling aids here. I'm going to select these because I'm going to change a few of these. We've got an ortho snap every 90 degrees, which means if I rotate something and hold down shift, it's going to snap left, right, or up, down. If I want to rotate it to a 45-degree angle here, I can't do it by holding down shift. So I'm going to change that to 45 degrees. The other thing I want to change is the cursor tooltips. I'm going to hit this modeling aids down here and come to cursor tooltips. And I want to make sure that object snap and distance are both checked. So if I'm going to delete these spheres here, and I will delete that one as well, and I'll just create a box over here. So again, if I want to rotate, there's a button over here. I can rotate from world origin, 0 and enter, hold down shift, and now I can snap to 45 degrees. Now that cursor tooltip that I showed you, when I draw a line, for example, here, then it will show the length of that line in that little box next to the end of the line. So that's going to give me the length of the line. That's what those 2 options there do. Another option that I want to have a look at is options. Let's have a look at our mouse options. And I want to make sure that drag selected objects only is checked. If it's not checked, then something that's not selected, we can actually just instantly click and drag, which means sometimes if you bump something, you can bump it out of the way accidentally. Whereas if it's enabled, then we have to deliberately move that, which is a good thing. We don't want to accidentally move or bump anything. The other one that we want to have here is make sure that this one is deselected. Turn on control points when selecting a curve, light, or annotation. I just want to turn that off. If it's on whenever you select curve, it's going to turn on the control points. We can still turn on the control points, but I want to be able to do that manually rather than having it happen automatically, which can get a little bit busy and confusing. So with those enabled, then everything is all set up and we are ready to carry on with our modeling. When we shut down Rhino and restart it, all of those options are going to be remembered for the next time.